Now that we practice on how to identify the inequality from a graph, we are actually going to be able to create it ourselves. Okay, so this goes back to what we did in Target 3D. Okay, remember when we had a graph, an empty graph, and we have to label it by giving the title and the scale. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We need the title for x and y. We need the scale for x and y. And we need to draw our equation now. We need a line. Okay, we are also going to be drawing in our inequalities. And don't forget that inequalities we have to shade. Okay, so then let's get started with question number 1. Okay, it says the function rule W equals 25G plus 500 represents the total weight W in pounds of a container that contains G gallons of a certain liquid. What is a reasonable graph of the function rule given that the capacity of the container is 80 gallons? Okay, so we need to graph the situation. We need to correctly label the axis, the scale, and include 2 points. Okay, in order to make us the equation or the line of the equation. Okay, we need 2 points. All right, given this information, okay, they give you the equation. Okay, so the equation is W equals 25G plus 500. Don't forget that an equation is always written as Y equals mx plus b. Okay, and remember we have to give it a title for x and y. Okay, so then again, y is being represented by W. W is the total weight in pounds. So then there you go. I already have my title for my graph, and I'm going to change the color to blue. So the y, again, this is the y, is the total weight in pounds. Okay, so it's my W. Okay, and we need a title for x. Let me give myself some space here. Okay, so the title for x in this one, remember x is right here. That means it's represented by G, but the letter G. And what does the G stand for? G is the gallons of a certain liquid. So there you go. G will be gallons. Okay, and it's represented by the G, the letter G. Okay, because this is the x-axis. All right, next we need to find the scale. Okay, but based on our equation, we remember we have the m, which is our slope, and our b, which is your y-intercept. The b for this one is 500, and don't forget that the b will always start. Will give you the starting point. The starting point. And where is that point on the y-axis? Remember, b is on the y. That means that it's when x equals 0. So then there you go. Okay, I know when x equals 0, I'm going to have 500 for the y. I'm not going to plug in the 500 just yet. Okay, I do know, however, that the problem told me that the capacity of the container is 80 gallons. Okay, that means that my containers, my gallons, can only go from 0 to 80. So I'm going to plug it into my graph. And again, this graph has, this is a graphing paper. The graphing paper has different lines, right? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of those 10 lines, I could go however I want. I could label it however I want. Okay, I'm going to go by 20. So 20, and I'm going to skip the line in between. That means I'm going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And I'm stopping at 80. Why? Because that is the capacity. Capacity means is the max. So in case you don't know, capacity is the max amount. Okay, you cannot exceed more than 80. All right, now that I know that it's 80, okay, we know the starting point. The starting point is at 500. We need to know, how am I going to do the y? Is it going to start with 500 or is it going to end with 500? I don't know. However, I know that we know a starting point because of 0, right? So that is the starting point. I don't know how I'm going to label the scale because I don't know what will be the max, right? I don't know if 500 is going to go all the way to 3,000, 5,000. I don't know. What you're going to do is plug it into your equation. So again, I have W equals 25G plus 500 to find out your ending point. All right, so this is a way to find your ending point. You need to plug in the max, the capacity for G. G is 80. The capacity of G is 80. So I'm going to plug in 80 here. So then again, I have W equals 25 times 80 plus 500. And again, I know G is the gallons, and the capacity of gallons is 80. So that's why I need to plug in 80. So 25 times 80 is going to give me 2,000. Plus 500, that means that the max, the capacity of this, is going to reach all the way to 2,500. Okay, that's the total weight. That means that that is the ending point. That means I'm going to start with 500 on my y-axis. Obviously, this right here is 0. Then I'm going to go with 500. Okay. Next, I'm going to keep going by 500, sorry, 500. And then that means this is going to be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, and 3,000, 3,500, and 4,000. Okay. And remember, our max was a 2,500. That's going to be the ending point. So there you are. You already have information for both points. The starting point is 500. So this is the first point, is the starting point. And the next point, when it's 80 gallons, okay, when it's 80 gallons, we're going to have 2,500. So that's right here. This is going to be 2,500. It means that this is your second point. This is the ending point. Okay, and all you're going to do, you have your 2 points already. You're going to connect those 2 points and create your line. Okay, and then remember, this was an equation, so we don't have to shade anything. Okay, we just leave it like that. We just found our equation, we label it, we label the x, the y, we found the scale, and we included our 2 points. Your 2 points will always be the starting point and the ending point. Based on the starting point and the ending point, you're going to be able to figure out the y-axis, the scale of the y-axis. Okay, so that's how you do question number 1. Question number 1 is exactly like question number 2. So make sure you try this one on your own. Send me a picture if you want me to check your answer. And again, this is a good practice, and I could definitely let you know if you did it right or wrong. All right, here comes our tricky part. Number 3. Okay, number 3 is going to be about inequalities. And again, they tell you, the problem itself tells you if you're going to use equation or inequality. Okay, so here we go. It says a fish market charges $9 per pound for cod and $12 per pound for flounder. Let x equals the number of pounds of cod. Let y equal the number of pounds of flounder. They must reach a daily quota of at least 120. And they tell you graph an inequality. Okay, you see inequality. That means that we are talking about our inequality signs or symbols. And remember, this graph has to be shaded. Okay, so based on the information they gave me, they already gave me the title for x and y. Okay, they tell you let x be the number of pounds of cod and let y be the number of pounds of flounder. Okay, I already found the title. The number of pounds of cod for x, number of pounds of flounder. Okay, next I need to figure out the scale, and then don't forget that we need to shade. Okay, in order for me to figure out the scale, I need to find my inequality. Okay, I need to write my inequality. Again, to write inequalities, remember you put one side the total amount and then the other side your expenses. Okay, it doesn't matter if you put the expenses first and then the total, or the total first and then the expenses. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you put the inequality sign. Okay, so I'm gonna put 120, which is the total amount I have. Okay, and it says it has to be at least. At least means that that's your minimum, but it could be more. So your minimum that you need is 120, but you can have more than 120. Okay? That means that 120 has to be less than or equal to, because the expenses could be more. So then again, I have 9 per pound of cod, and cod is X, plus 12 for pounds of flounder, which we know is Y. We don't know how many pounds we're going to use, but we do know that they're going to charge you $12 per pound for flounder, $9 per pound for cod. Okay? Now that we have our inequality sign, we're going to use this to figure out our first point and our ending point. Again, the first is the starting point. And again, how do you figure out when it's the starting point? When x is 0. Okay, and remember these are the x-axis. So the number of pounds of car has to be 0. We're using our equation, so I'm just going to rewrite it here, to find how much is going to be the starting point on the y, which is the number of pounds of thunder. Again, x is 0, that's the starting point. The starting point is when x equals 0. That means I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So here I go as 120 less than or equal to 9 times 0 plus 12y. Okay, 9 times 0 gives me 0. So then I'm going to have 120 less than or equal to 12y. Okay, I need 12y by itself, so I'm going to divide by 12. 120 divided by 12 just gives me 10. Okay, so y could be greater than or equal to 10, but 10 is your starting point. Okay, so technically I have a coordinate point. You can put it as a coordinate point in order for you to figure this out. Okay, coordinate point will be 0 and 10. X is 0, y is 10. That's what we figured out. Okay, that's your starting point. Okay, this right here is your starting point. Now let's do the ending point. Okay, you're going to do the same thing, 120 less than or equal to 9x plus 12y. Okay, but now it's the ending point when y equals 0. So now we're doing this for y equals 0. We need to figure out what will be x. So that's how you figure out your ending point. You're going to do the same thing, 120 less than or equal to 9x plus 12 times 0. Okay, and then 120 less than or equal to 9x because 12 times 0 gives me 0. Okay, I need x by itself, so I'm going to have to divide by 9. 120 divided by 9 just gives me about 13.3. Okay, and it's going to give me a decimal. That's fine. Okay, that means that my coordinate point, my ending point, is going to be 13.3 for x and 0 for y. That's my ending point. Okay. Now that you figure out your starting point and your ending point, you know how to put your scale numbers for x and the scale numbers for y. And I'm going to change my color here. I'm going to put green. Okay. So I need the scale numbers for x, the scale numbers for y. You're going to use those two coordinate points that you found, the starting point and the ending point. Okay, again, this is x values, this is x values, this is the y, this is the y. From the x, you notice that goes from 0 to 13.3. That means I could put my scale from 0 to 15. Why not, right? Or I could go from 0 to 20. It all depends on how you want to do this, okay? Here I go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This right here is 11, 12, 13, 14, and then goes all the way to 15, okay? I know that it's going to go all the way to 13.3. However, I'm just putting into 15. Next, notice that your y goes 10 to 0. That means that your graph is going to go from 0 to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And why not? Let's do 3 more. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Why not? Okay. All you're going to do is plug in your points now. Again, our first point is at 0 and 10. 0 and 10. This is a starting point. Your ending point is when it's 13.3 on the x. So I'm just going to round it to 13. Okay, and then 0. So which is down here. It doesn't go up or down. It just stays there. Now that I have my 2 points, I'm connecting those 2 points to make my line. And again, the line that I make, it's solid. Why? Because my sign tells me that it's going to be a solid line. All you're going to do now is shade. Remember, we're focusing on, how do I shade? You're focusing on the inequality sign and where your y is. Because we're talking about an inequality here. And remember that the lines are tilted like this. We're talking about the y. So we're focusing on y. For this one, it's saying that y is greater than, okay? Because remember, your monsters, your big mouth, okay, their big side, is eating the y. That means it's y is big. That means when it's big, we shade up. And again, how do you shade up and down? Well, you plug in a point in the middle of the line. You draw a line that goes up and you draw a line that goes down. That means that all of the side that it's all going up has to be shaded. So then there you go. All of this has to be shaded. All of it. All of it. Because the line is telling you it's all up. And then there you go. I found my graph. I found my 2 points. I shaded the right way. And that's all we're doing for this graphs. Okay. It is kind of confusing. Okay. But you do have to plug in the values for x and y in order for you to figure out your first and your starting point, sorry, and your ending point. And that's the same way you're going to do for question number 3. Sorry, number 4. And again, you're sending me a picture if you want me to check your work and, make sure that you guys are understanding. So just send me pictures.